Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a big one, something absolutely core to how we live and work now, cybersecurity.
It really is everywhere.
Yeah, so we've gathered your notes, your documents, and we're going to really dig in, try to pull out the essentials, cut through the jargon and get to what cybersecurity actually is, what threatens it, where software fits, and importantly, what happens when, well, things go wrong.
Which they sometimes do.
Exactly. So stick with us because whether it's for your job, your personal stuff, or just, being curious about this connected world, this stuff matters.
It absolutely does. Think of it like essential digital literacy for today. The sources give us a great map.
Okay, let's unpack that first piece then. According to the material we have, how do we even define cybersecurity? What are we actually talking about?
Right. So at its heart, the sources define it as basically protecting internet-connected systems.
Systems like?
Well, that means the hardware, the physical machines, the software running on them, and crucially, the data they process and store. And it's worth noting this is part of the bigger picture of security, which also includes, physical security, locks on doors, that kind of thing. Cybersecurity is the digital side.
Got it. Digital protection. The material seems to break it down further, though. Lists some key areas.
It does, yeah. It mentions application security, securing the apps themselves, information security, protecting the data, network security, the connections.
Okay.
Then there's operational security, the day-to-day procedures, and a really important one, end-user education, making sure people know how to be safe.
That last one feels huge. People are often the target, right?
Very often. We'll probably touch on that again later.
So covering a lot of bases there. Now, the notes also spend some time specifically on software security. Why pull that out separately? What's distinct about securing the software itself?
That's a great question. Software security is defined here as specifically protecting the software against malicious attacks, against hackers, so it keeps working the way it's supposed to.
So not just finding bugs, but building it to withstand attacks.
Exactly. It's framed as engineering software, so it functions correctly, even when it's under malicious attack. The sources say the fundamental goal is providing integrity, authentication, and availability.
Engineering for resilience. I like that framing. Okay, so if that's the goal, what are the main objectives? Why do organizations pour resources into this? What are they trying to achieve?
Well, the list of objectives in the sources is pretty detailed, but you can see a clear theme: resilience and building trust.
Okay.
So number one is preventing breaches, especially the really big, damaging security incidents.
Makes sense. Stop the bleeding.
Right. And that directly ties into minimizing business disruptions, keeping things running smoothly. Another core aim is preserving the integrity, functionality, and availability of information, making sure it's correct and accessible.
For the people who need it, when they need it.
Exactly. It also explicitly mentions developing and maintaining protection against theft, loss, damage, or, unauthorized changes to data.
Protecting the data itself.
Yeah. And then there's the response side. Having the capacity for emergency response, being able to keep critical activities going even after a major incident hits.
Business continuity, basically.
Precisely. And minimizing the impact, getting back online, quickly restoration time. It's all about effective management of these risks, which also helps ensure compliance with laws and regulations.
Right. It's not just technical. It's about the business, the strategy, the legal side, too. Now, the sources really hammer home a few core properties security tries to maintain, often called the CIA triad.
Ah, yes. CIA. That's absolutely central to information security. It stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
So walk us through those based on the material. Confidentiality.
Confidentiality means ensuring that information is only accessible to individuals or processes that are actually authorized to see it. Keeping secrets secret, basically.
Got it. And integrity.
Integrity means the information is complete, accurate, and hasn't been improperly altered. You can trust that it's correct.
Right. Trustworthy data. And availability.
Availability is straightforward. The information and the systems are there and working when an authorized user needs to access them. It's accessible on demand.
Confidentiality, integrity, availability, CIA. Simple framework, but covers a lot. The notes also mention some other properties like authenticity, responsibility, reliability. How do they fit in?
Yeah, the sources list those too. While they don't go super deep into the exact relationship with CIA, they're definitely important supporting aspects. Authenticity is about proving identity, making sure users or data are who or what they claim to be.
Verifying identity.
Responsibility ties into accountability, being able to trace actions. And reliability is about consistent, correct performance. You could say they all help bolster the CIA goals by making the whole system more trustworthy.
Okay, that makes sense. They reinforce the main pillars. So we know what security is aiming for. How do organizations actually do it? The documents mentioned a 5-stage process, like a cycle.
Yes, exactly. Life cycle view. The 5 stages listed are evaluation, prevention, detection, response, and recovery.
All right, let's walk through them. Evaluation, what's that?
Evaluation is described as the first step. It's about understanding the current security posture, assessing risks, often done with things like questionnaires or audits.
Kind of like taking stock.
Precisely. And the sources emphasize this isn't a one-off thing. It's a repeating process. You have to keep evaluating.
Continuous improvement. Okay. Then prevention.
Prevention is about putting measures in place, rules, procedures, technical controls to try and stop bad things from happening in the first place. Avoiding the loss of information.
Trying to build the walls higher.
Kind of, yeah. But then comes detection. Because, prevention isn't foolproof. Detection is critical for spotting when something undesirable does get through or happens internally. Early detection is key.
Why is early detection so important?
Because the sooner the responsible parties know there's a problem, the faster they can act, which leads directly into the next stage. Response.
Right. So detection triggers the response.
Exactly. Response is all about how you actually resolve the problem that's been detected. And the sources make a good point. Effective evaluation and detection significantly reduce the time and effort needed for a good response.
They feed into each other. Makes sense. And the last stage.
Recovery. This is about getting things back to normal after an incident, restoring lost information, usually from backups, fixing damaged systems, that sort of thing.
Evaluation, prevention, detection, response, recovery. A full loop. Okay. Now here's a part I found really fascinating. The sources talk about some principles of software security, especially around testing, that seem, well, a bit surprising. What's the deal with testing?
Ah, yes. This section really challenges some common assumptions. The core idea presented is that testing is fundamentally about executing program code with the specific intent of finding defects.
Finding flaws, okay?
And a good test case, according to this, is one that has a high probability of finding a defect that hasn't been discovered yet. You shouldn't just test that it works. You need to systematically test for incorrect behavior, too.
So you're actively trying to break it. It's not just about confirming it works.
Exactly. And this leads to a really interesting point. A successful test, in this context, is one that actually uncovers a previously unknown defect.
Huh. That feels backward somehow.
It does. The sources even use the phrase psychologically destructive because the goal of the tester is, in a sense, to demolish the software, to find its weaknesses.
Wow. Psychologically destructive.
Oh.
Okay, but what's the really crucial takeaway here?
The absolute key point, which the sources attribute to the famous computer scientist Edgar Dijkstra, is this. Testing can show the presence of defects, but it cannot show their absence.
Say that again. Testing cannot show the absence of defect.
Correct. You can run 1,000,000 tests, find 0 bugs, and you still can't be certain that there isn't another bug lurking somewhere that your tests just didn't trigger.
That's huge. That fundamentally limits what testing can achieve for security, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And following from that, the sources state that testing, viewed by itself, is actually considered quite an ineffective method for quality assurance, particularly for security.
So it's necessary, but not sufficient.
Precisely. When testing does successfully find a defect, it then kicks off a separate debugging phase to fix it. And, like the other security stages, the testing process itself needs to be managed systematically.
Okay, that's a really important nuance about testing. So shifting focus a bit. We know how we try to secure things, but what are we actually securing them against? The sources list some common threats.
Right. The main categories of threats mentioned are ransomware, malware, social engineering, and phishing.
Standard list.
Yeah.
And they define malware specifically.
Yes, simply as programs created specifically to infect systems and compromise their security. Basically, malicious software.
Got it. Now, terminology can be tricky here. People throw around words like event, incident, attack. The sources draw clear lines between them. Can you clarify?
Yes, this is a really useful distinction. A security event is defined as basically any observable occurrence in an IT system or network. Could be someone logging in, a file being accessed, anything. It's relevant, potentially, but not necessarily bad.
Just something happened.
Right. Then, a security incident is more serious. It's an event, or maybe a series of events, that actually negatively affects confidentiality, integrity, or availability. Something went wrong, and it requires intervention.
Okay, so an incident is a harmful event and an attack.
A cyber attack is defined as an intentional and malicious action taken by someone, an attacker, with the specific goal of compromising a system, stealing data, destroying something, or disrupting services. It's deliberate hostility.
Event is neutral, incident is a problem, attack is malicious intent.
Yeah.
Okay, that helps. So when an incident does happen, there's a process for dealing with it, right? An incident life cycle.
Yes, the material points towards a structured approach, referencing standards like NIST SP 800-61. It generally breaks down into 4 main phases.
What are those?
First is preparation, getting your tools, plans, and teams ready before anything happens. Then, detection and analysis, identifying an incident has occurred and figuring out what's going on.
Okay. Prep, then detect.
Then comes the core response: containment, eradication, and recovery. So stop the bleeding, get rid of the cause, like malware, and then restore the affected systems.
Contain, remove, restore, and the last part.
Lessons learned or post-incident activity. Looking back at what happened, how the response went, and figuring out how to do better next time. Improving the preparation for the future.
Another cycle. It all seems very cyclical. Preparation feeds into better response, which feeds into better preparation.
Exactly. Continuous improvement is the name of the game.
Now, we mentioned types of threats earlier. The sources also classify the attacks themselves. Technical versus non-technical.
Yes, they make that distinction. Technical attacks are those that exploit vulnerabilities in the technology itself.
Like what?
The examples given include malware, obviously. Also, man-in-the-middle attacks intercepting communications, DOS or DDoS denial of service attacks, flooding systems to take them offline, and things like SQL injection or cross-site scripting, which involves sneaking malicious code into system inputs.
So attacking the code, the network, the systems directly. What about the non-technical side?
The non-technical attacks fall primarily under the umbrella of social engineering.
The human element again?
Precisely. This is about manipulating people, tricking them into giving up information or access, rather than breaking the tech directly.
What examples are listed there?
Phishing is the classic one, sending fake emails or messages to get credentials or install malware. Baiting is mentioned, tempting someone with a seemingly desirable offer, like a free USB drive that's actually malicious. And pretexting, creating a fake scenario or identity to fool someone into cooperating.
Fascinating and kind of scary. It targets our psychology.
It really does. Trust, urgency, curiosity attackers leverage all of those.
To make all this a bit more real, the sources actually list some specific, significant cyber incidents. Can you share those examples?
Sure. They provide a few recent ones to illustrate. Phishing attacks aimed at German political parties back in March 2024. A cyber espionage operation called Salt Typhoon, which was reported in December 2024 as targeting major U.S. telecom companies like AT&T and Verizon.
Espionage, okay.
DDoS attacks that took down government websites in Romania in April 2022. And an operation supposedly by the Kim Soo-ki Group against a university website in South Korea dated March 2025 in the notes. These just show the variety: phishing, espionage, disruption.
Right. Real examples of the kinds of attacks we've been discussing. Okay. So let's try to pull this all together. We've really dug into the sources today. We've defined cybersecurity, looked at its goals, the core ideas like CIA, the whole 5-stage security cycle.
The surprising principles around software testing.
Right. That testing can't prove a negative.
Yeah.
Then we covered threats, the difference between events, incidents, attacks, how incidents are handled.
And the classification of attacks into technical exploits and social engineering, plus those real-world examples.
So what are the big takeaways here?
Yeah.
What should someone listening really latch onto?
I think a few key things stand out. One is that security isn't a one-time fix. It's this ongoing cyclical process of evaluation, prevention, detection, response, recovery. You're never really done.
Constant vigilance.
Pretty much. Another is the importance of being prepared before something happens, having that response plan ready, and understanding the landscape, knowing the types of threats and attacks helps you anticipate and defend.
And for you, listening to this deep dive, having this foundation really matters, doesn't it? It helps you navigate the digital world, whether at work or home, just a bit more safely, a bit more intelligently.
Absolutely. It demystifies things a bit. And maybe, just maybe, makes you think twice before clicking that link.
Definitely. So here's a final thought to leave you with, pulling directly from what we discussed. We heard that testing fundamentally cannot prove that software is free of defects or vulnerabilities.
Right, a really critical point.
And we also talked about social engineering, attacks that bypass technology entirely to target people.
Yeah, the human factor.
So, considering those two things together, the inherent limitations of proving technical security and the constant threat of human manipulation, what does that really imply about the challenge of cybersecurity? Is perfect security even theoretically achievable? Or is the biggest vulnerability always going to be, well, us? Something to think about.